20 teens, all granite countertops and open floor plans. At this point, I honestly would not have been surprised if it had turned out to just be a big, empty box. But the layout of the rooms was the same. Our furniture was in the right places. The potted plants were actual plants, although not as lush as I remembered. The doors were where they should be. I mean, sure, things were where they were supposed to be, but even in the reflected streetlight with my night vision, almost everything was the same neutral white. Even the mural of the sea on the backsplash of the kitchen was gone. Swallowing, I stopped in the middle of a plain white kitchen, looking at plain white counters and plain white chairs. Any hint that a crime occurred here had been scrubbed away, but there was one spot of color. Not dried blood. Orange. A bowl of navel oranges with glossy pebbled skin sat on the corner. The bowl was as blandly white as the rest of the kitchen, but the oranges were real. I walked over to them and stopped with my hand out. Some part of me expected them to feel different, or evaporate or something when I touched them. Biting down on my fear, I picked up an orange. The skin was firm, textured with familiar tiny dimples. The heft was right, and it filled my hand with the same comfort that the pistol grip of the gun had. But this comfort was mine. This wasn't edited into me. This wasn't part of some unknown other person. It was me. I had picked this orange out. When? I tightened my grip on the yielding rind because I didn't know when I had bought this orange. Or, more specifically, I hadn't. My original had. Sometime after my last memory, she had bought this fruit. Probably at the marketplace, because that was the only place I bought oranges from these days. Or not. I had never bought oranges. In my only visit to the marketplace, someone had tried to kill me. Panic flurried in my middle, and I took a slow breath, trying to stave it off. Swallowing did nothing to keep the fear in place. A craft knife was in my hand. I didn't remember grabbing it, but I held it like a weapon, which was not me. Reversing the grip, I placed the tip on the skin of the orange and traced a spiral from the navel down to the side. I was an orange carver. I did not kill people. The memory of a woman wheezing erased the quiet. Orange carving was an ephemeral art, and it was mine. I knew the weight of the knife and assessed the balance of it. The bright tang of resin popped from the skin as the knife released essential oils into the air. The scent of blood was metallic by contrast. The navel orange had thicker skin than other varieties, making it good for textured work. The victim's face had a series of spiral carvings cut into the flesh. Gripping the knife, I let out a slow breath. I was not going to let them take orange carving away from me. This was a skill I had earned. It hadn't been edited into me. I hadn't cheated. I had practiced and learned to carve oranges. I should have asked to see Jonathan's face. I didn't want to. If someone wanted to frame me, using orange carving techniques would make it look more like I had done it. But I know my own work. Stop. I didn't kill Jonathan. Biting my lip, I carved a parallel spiral next to the first, carefully working the loose rind up and away from the groove I worked into the surface. There are two basic forms of orange sculpture, whole fruit or rind only. With whole fruit, the fruit inside gets showcased as a change of texture. In rind-only work, one extracted the fruit from inside and created elaborate baskets or lanterns from the remaining rind. This navel orange had a thickness and pliability that lent itself to rind-only work. Opening the orange along the spiral I had sliced, I carefully pulled the wedges out. The scent of juice carries a different, sweeter orange than the resinous oils of the rind. I popped a piece into my mouth. My teeth sliced through the membrane, sending a spurt of tart liquid across my palate. The acidity puckered the inside of my mouth with a slight metallic tang. I spat it out. For a moment, I was absolutely convinced that someone was trying to poison me. But no. When I was a kid, my original, had edited my taste buds to make oranges sweeter. The glistening, half-chewed fruit sat on the table in a puddle of my spit. The orange wasn't the problem. It was real. I sat at the table and wept. Half of my life was fake in ways I hadn't known. I found myself going through our drawers, looking for, not for clues, but for things that were real. Jonathan's things, in particular, angered me. He had a rock he'd picked up when we'd gone to Iceland. It was a gray stone, worn round and smooth by glaciers. A pair of dice from when we'd sat in on a D&D game in Monte Carlo, thrilled to be playing an old-fashioned game with actual pencils and actual paper instead of an immersive. They glistened like six-sided rubies next to a seagull feather from our trip to the San Fran archipelago. Other things I remembered were gone. His Swiss Army pocket knife, handed down to him from his grandfather. The blades had been sharpened into concave arcs. His collection of vintage hotel keycards, gone. The St. George's medallion that he picked up in Venice, also gone. I found plenty of blank white discs and rectangles and lozenges. So here's the question. Did my original take them? Or did they never exist in the first place? I tucked the remaining keepsakes into my pockets because the weight of the rock in my pocket made me think of Jonathan with every step I took. The bare apartment felt like his personality had been leached out of it. I wanted something, anything, to anchor me. I had a rock, dice, and a feather. And I also needed to do some work. Wiping my eyes on my sleeve, I opened my desk interface and started researching Icon. I could do this anywhere, of course, and I know this was tactically stupid, my chair felt right, and I